Hey there, thank you for joining us for the next episode of Startup Q&A. This question is really simple and we're dealing with this on the KnowCap side, but it is, how do I raise funding if I don't know any investors? So it's really kind of simple. Actually, it really is simple. It's extremely hard though. So there are three different ways. One, obviously you could cold email them and reach out to them and establish a relationship like that. I wouldn't recommend it. That's the way that we've been doing things. A lot of things get lost in translation because if you're trying to make a cold intro to yourself to an investor, they're giving you a very small window. If you slip up, you are almost instantly out of contention for a relationship with them. And that's something that I've dealt with when raising money for KnowCap, because we're not an incubator or accelerator. However, it comes across that way. So once an investor decides in their head that we're an accelerator, there's no other way to reel back into that scenario. And so I wouldn't really recommend cold emailing, but that's all. You always have that option. You can connect with them on Twitter and then cold emailing and try and work your way in from that relationship side. The second way is to look at their portfolio companies and then look at your network and see if any of their portfolio companies' CEOs or co-founders or executive teams are somehow within your LinkedIn network. And then you just have to kind of go backdoor it. You have to reverse engineer it. You have to look at LinkedIn is a great place to do this. See if your second connections are search for the company. Look for the employees or search by employees and it'll show you, and then see which ones are your second connections, and then go through your connections and see which ones are your most solid connections, if you will, and then reach out to them to introduce you to the founder or executive team at the portfolio company. And then after you build a relationship with them, then you ask them to introduce you to the investor. That's a good way to do it. And then the third way is just to run into them. This doesn't happen often with me because I'm not in Silicon Valley. I'm not going to South by Southwest. I'm not in New York. I'm not, able to go to all of these different events. And that's why it's kind of a killer, especially if you're in Atlanta. I feel you on that because I've had so many people go, oh yeah, how can you reach out to us cold? Oh, just come to this event in San Francisco. Like, no, dude, I'm not doing that. It's 2019. Just if you're interested, take the meeting or take a call or whatever. But I understand they're getting 100 pitches a day. Sometimes you have to establish difficult barriers to entry, which is why a lot of them don't really take cold intros, because in their mind, they believe that if you can't get an introduction to them from someone within their circle, then you're not scrappy enough or your connections aren't good enough. I think they're wrong. That's just my personal opinion. I think the best ideas are not going to come from within their circle. I think honestly, that's why VCs are 40% either from Stanford or Yale or something like that. I think that's why most VCs are white. I think that's why the money goes to VCs that are, or go to founders that are white and male. And I think that all happens because they have this intro only policy. Well, if you have mostly male founders in your portfolio and they're mostly white, well, they're probably going to know mostly white founders. So if you're going off of the intro side of things, you're going to get introduced to other white male founders. And so that's why I don't really like that. As we continue growing up KnowCap and we eventually launch KnowCap Ventures, that's going to be something that we kind of eradicate, because that it means that you end up with a homogeneous portfolio, if you will. And that is why people have D&I initiatives coming up. I don't think that you should have to tout that you support 50% women or 50% minorities. I think you should just do it. And that's just a good thing. But hey, I'm not in VC, so I don't know how that all works. However, to answer your question, those are the three options. Get introduced, go cold, or interact with them at an event. That's probably your best bet if you don't know any right now, and to build that up from scratch. Yep, and hopefully that helps. So subscribe below and check out some of our other videos. We should have about 15 to 20 at this point. So let me know what you think.